Chief of Staff and a Fox News contributor, and likely can draw a conclusion from that. Karl, welcome to you. What is this? Why is this happening?
Well, it's because people don't like either of the major parties. If you look at it, you're right. 45% say they're independents, 27% say they're Democrats or Republicans. If you ask them, though, would you lean to one party or the other, that number of true independents shrinks down to 10%. And the Republicans are 42 and the Democrats are 47. So what this suggests is there are lots of people who are nominally Republicans or nominally Democrats, but they're not happy with their party, and so they call themselves independents, even though their behavior is somewhat different from that.
Really interesting, and you break this down by generation. Those that call themselves or identify as an independent. Gen Z tops the list at 56%, Karl. Millennials, a close second, 54%. Gen X drops to 42%. The baby boomers, 33% of them identify as independent, and there is the silent generation where about just less than 1/3 of them identify as independent. So what do you take away from the generational divide here?
Well, isn't it interesting? You're absolutely right. The younger you are, the more independent you're likely to be. And the older you are, the more likely you are to identify with a political party. The silent generation, 37% Republican, 32% Democrat. The boomers, 34% Republican, 32% Democrat. So, you know, the longer you've been around in politics, the more likely it is that you identify with a party and are willing to say so. We'll see if that continues. But among younger voters, they are not happy with either party and are identifying as independents, even if they end up voting primarily for candidates of one party or the other.
And for an explanation, perhaps, to why Democrats are seeing some leave their party, President Trump offered this explanation for that in Detroit yesterday when he was speaking. Listen.
Try selling transgender for everybody, open borders, let the world come in. Let the world's prison population come into the United States. So they stick together, which I admire because I'm a very loyal person, but they have horrible policy.
Meanwhile, this is Ken Martin, the head of the DNC, with his message on voters. Listen.
Democrats have momentum after a historic 2025, but we're not going to take this momentum for granted. We refuse to be reactive. We refuse the same old song and dance, and we refuse to let politics come to us. And I will not accept being in a position at the end of the year where we have to ask, what else could we have done?
What do you take from that, Karl?
Well, I don't think either one of those messages matter. What matters is the reality that people have in the economy that they're living in each and every day. When they go to the grocery store, when they look at their paycheck, when they sit down at the end of the month to pay their bills. Gallup did an interesting thing here. They took all of the results of all of their polling in the entire last quarter of 2024. That's when we had the midterm, the presidential elections. And then the last quarter of last year to see what kind of movement there was. Republicans went from 47% of the responses, that is to say, people who said I'm a Republican or I'm an independent who leans Republican, to 40% at the end of last year. Democrats went from 43 to 48. I don't think that was because Ken Martin and his message. I think that was because people said, you know what, I was hoping that the economy would be a lot better when we got Trump back in, and the president's numbers on handling inflation and the economy are low. That's likely because we're having to fight our way through the damage created during the Biden years. But nonetheless, it ought to be a wake-up call. The question of prices and affordability and can I feel like my family is secure really matter in the 2026 midterm elections.
Well, it would behoove both parties to not ignore the way people feel. But certainly President Trump and his team feel like they can tout a lot of wins on the economy. He did so yesterday in Detroit. Income's up and inflation certainly has slowed. Karl, great to have you here today on all of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sandra. All the best.
Okay, you too. John.